Part 2. Silver Snow. Harpstring Moon. The Impregnable Fortress. After seizing the Great Bridge of Burden, the Resistance Army starts making preparations to invade Imperial territory when a surprising piece of information comes to light.
Well met, Professor. I trust that you have not had any complaints about me lately. Good. For any trouble I may have caused, please accept my most humble apology. I've decided that it would be inappropriate for me to continue my search for a spouse while we are at war. I expect that means you will not be receiving any more complaints. I hope that puts you more at ease. Actually, the introspection I've gained setting aside my search has motivated me to amend my conduct. Not the phrasing I'd choose, but you're not wrong. Selfishly pursuing my own desires caused me to behave inconsiderately. For instance, it was arrogant and rude to invite ladies to dine with me purely to evaluate them. Our experiences in battle have also given me cause to doubt certain preconceptions I once held. Previously, I had considered it a requirement for my future spouse to come from a noble line. I once thought that commoners lacked the power to influence the wider world, as history might suggest. To find a commoner who made a real impact, one has to look all the way back to Nemesis. That was my belief, at any rate. But I realized that I've actually had an influential commoner right in front of me all along. Don't you see? I'm referring to you. You may wield the power of a crest, but you are so much more than just that. You have managed to charm everyone around you, to compel them to trust and follow you. Though you may not realize it, that is no mean feat. It is altering the course of history in Fodlan. Your example puts my prior beliefs to shame. I appreciate the kind words. I have always sought to embody the ideal of nobility. That, at least, is a goal I continue to stand by. But now I know that bloodline alone is not sufficient to gauge a person's worth. I've learned much of this from you. You are humble and open-minded, despite your power and skill. That is why I, at least, find you so charismatic. Perhaps that is the wrong way to say it. What I mean is that you set an admirable example. I can only hope someday to be your equal. Of course, you had better keep an eye on me, because I can achieve anything I set out to do. For I am none other than the handsome and talented Lawrence Hellman Gloucester.
Emergency! In Gronder Field! It's...
We are in the middle of a military conference. Please, calm yourself and tell us what is the matter.
Yes, sir. It seems the Kingdom and Alliance armies clashed with Imperial forces on Gronder Field. Amid the chaos of three armies battling each other out there, the Imperial army was routed. Edelgard sustained heavy wounds and retreated to Enbar.
Well then, I suppose.
Sir, the Kingdom army was also decimated, and His Highness Dimitri has been counted among the dead.
What?
The Alliance sustained heavy casualties as well, and the whereabouts of their leader, Claude, is currently unknown.
Unknown? It must have been a brutal fight. To have lost His Highness. How tragic. Our only solace is that Edelgard sustained severe injuries. This is all quite unexpected, but we must find a way to use this situation to our advantage. The Empire's main force has suffered a mighty blow. Edelgard will most certainly avoid the front lines. Now is the time for us to infiltrate the Empire and aim for the capital.
But what will happen to the Lords of the Old Kingdom and Alliance territories?
They have lost many leaders and soldiers. I'm sure they must be hard at work rebuilding. We will foster cooperation by aiding them through the local churches. The remaining Lords of the Kingdom and Alliance must join together to form one union. And you should be the one to lead them. What do you say? Indeed, it is a question for another day. We must focus on our battle with the Empire. For now, what is our next course of action? We must choose a place within the Empire that will give us solid defenses for our front line. That will become the foothold for our invasion of the capital. There is one massive fortress that boasts the greatest defenses in the Empire, Fort Mercius. But we will stand no chance if we attack by traditional means. We must gather everyone and devise a plan of attack.
It has been a lifetime, hasn't it, Professor? Yes, I thought so too. I wanted to slice her throat, but I did not get the chance. I let people die, and yet I still stand. Rodrigue, Gustav, Dedu. You sound just like Rodrigue. A reason. Everyone gives such complicated advice, and I can never quite grasp it all. That is why, Professor, I came here to explain my decision. I have no resources to take back the kingdom capital, much less to defeat the Empire, and that is why...
Professor, you will catch a cold sleeping in a place like this. Is something the matter? I am the only one here. Were you dreaming? I can't say for certain that you were dreaming, but if someone did come here to see you, that person only wanted you to see their face. Perhaps they wanted you to guide them. May I discuss something with you? I promised to help you find the truth of who you are, but I'm afraid it's not that simple. There are some details I have kept concealed. 5 years ago, before she vanished, I asked Rhea some pointed questions. I learned that she knows everything about you. No, that is understating it. Rhea is responsible for your existence. I could explain to you here and now what fragments of knowledge I was able to pry from Rhea. I fear, however, that a partial understanding might do you more harm than good. Once we save Rhea, you will know the whole of it. For now, that is all I can tell you. If you are still uncertain about your feelings, then permit me to add one more thing. You, Rhea, and I, We are like family. Because of those deep ties, you can be certain that I will never abandon or betray you. On the contrary, I greatly wish to see what your future holds. I am, and will always be, your ally. You are not wrong. History is full of examples. I don't believe that will be the case here, but I suppose all I can do is ask for your trust. The truth is, you have become indispensable to me. And that is true quite independently of whether I see eye to eye with Rhea, or even whether we are friends. After this war is over, where I go and what I do will depend wholly on you. I am still trying to figure that out myself. Perhaps it is just that I find you so fascinating that I cannot bring myself to leave your side. I dislike a one-sided conversation, but in this case, I am afraid I had no choice. Our future is yours to determine.
Professor? Fort Mercius is next, huh? Ah, the memories. It's a huge stronghold in my father's domain. The town's completely surrounded by high walls. I used to run around there when I was a kid. Way back when a fortress was just a playground for me. Yeah, those were the days.
It hasn't sunk in yet. They slaughtered the boar. I can hardly believe it. I thought he was alive all this time. He must have really hated Edelgard to lead such an ill-advised assault. No point in feeling sorry for the poor scoundrel now.
Fort Mercius is old and strong. Its reputation for durability is equal to that of Aryan Road. Are you certain your plan is sufficient? It seems to be a little simplistic. I suppose I must take you at your word, mustn't I? Incidentally, have you heard any news of Claude? I, for one, have a hard time believing he is dead. He was always a clever and tenacious sort. Hey, Professor?
If Claude somehow survived, I imagine he's terribly wounded. All three forces have suffered heavy losses. We're incredibly lucky to have not been involved. This is a perfect and unique opportunity to go on the offense. Now is the time to prove ourselves, Professor. Maybe.
So, you see... You know, Professor, laying siege to a keep is like asking a girl out on a date. First, you get past her defenses, then you make your move. I knew you'd get it, Professor. Anyway, you know more about tactics than me, so I don't know why I'm offering you advice.
Okay.
Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, all the house leaders from way back when, assembled again at Gronder. I wonder what their thoughts were as they headed out to the battlefield.
Professor!
Doesn't matter how sturdy the keep. If the commander defending it is incompetent, it can fall as easy as anything. That's what they say, at least. I wonder if that applies to Fort Mercius. All I know is, if I was the Emperor, I'd never in a million years assign an incompetent commander to a fort as important as that one.
Hi.
Professor! Hello
Bam.
there!
After that great battle earlier, the balance of power in Fodlan has shifted greatly. But we only stood a chance because we drove the Empire from the Great Bridge of Murden. To get revenge for all our fallen friends, we'll have to stake our lives on the fight that lies before us.
Wow. I hardly recognize everyone. Their faces have changed so much. More experience in the eyes, and more pain. I'm glad that they're stronger, but I hate to think they've all become hardened killers. Look after them, okay? Try to keep them on the straight and narrow.
Hey, I could use a hand.
I'm rather curious to see what stratagem we'll devise to capture the fortress. You know Fort Mercius's nickname, I assume, the stubborn old general? But there must be one or two gaps in its defenses.
Hello there!
Hello.
Could be. I only know what little I overheard. But what I did hear implied that the Empire was involved in the tragedy of Dusker. If it's true, that may explain why His Highness chose to fight the Empire. Perhaps I should have fought alongside His Highness. Because I too lost someone to that tragedy. The most important person in my world. Those of us still on this plane of existence will carry the torch. The inhumane actions of the Empire must not be repeated.
I never used to care whether I lived or died. But when I think of all those who died at Gronder, I realize how precious life truly is. I'm ashamed of how arrogant I was to think that death could mean so little.
Professor?
Greetings, Professor. Nothing to report. Is it true that we'll be assaulting Fort Mercius next? That doesn't sound like the brightest idea. I've heard that it's built to withstand an attack from even the largest of armies. And not to tell you how to do your job, but don't do it. I'm not ready to say my final goodbyes to everyone.
No sale. A class reunion on the battlefield? That's bleak. That must have been so hard on everyone. You gotta keep looking after them all. I mean, they still look to you for guidance, you know?
Well...
Heya!
The fish in this pond get fed every day, so they're swimming all lazy and serene. But the only reason they're kept here is so that they can one day be used for food. But the fish don't know that, so they just swim around happily. It's a bit of a miserable thought. But aren't soldiers much the same?
Professor? Teacher?
Dimitri, the late Prince of Fargus. He despised the Empire with all his heart. He should not have tried leading an army while his emotions were holding him captive. True enough, but I suspect the reason he died is that he could not keep his emotions in check. I see. You are saying you met with Dimitri, but you could not tell if it was reality or a dream. I wonder what that could mean.
Not possible. Professor, they tell me my father died at Gronder. Was that really a fitting end for one such as him? I don't know.
I just don't know.
Under your leadership, we can win any battle, no matter the odds. That's what everyone's saying, anyway. Hope you can keep up with our expectations, Professor.
You there!
Well, according to information we've received from the Eastern Church, the Alliance territories seem to be experiencing intense upheaval. Their leaders' well-being is still unclear, and the Lords are all questioning each other's intentions. It seems like a difficult time to ask the Alliance for assistance.
Standing face to face with those whom I went to school with. On the field of battle. How inhuman war is. How horrifying. My heart feels shattered. It is my hope that this war marks the end of such foolish behavior.
You know when you work your muscles and they start screaming? That means you gotta be nice to them. If your muscles are hungry, you gotta feed them. And let them rest when they're tired. Of course! If my muscles hurt, then I hurt. If they're hungry, well then I'm hungry too. What's with the confused face, Professor? You look like you don't get a word I'm saying.
I have excitement in my heart for secret tactics. I enjoy attacks that are surprising. Yes, hunting is doing surprise attacks on prey. Surprise attacks are safe with friends. Fewer injuries.
Hey, you.
I've heard Dedue's passed on, just like His Highness. That's true. I did hear that his body was never found. If somehow he's still alive, I hope we'll meet again.
This is my absolute favorite. How did you know, Professor?
Delicious! After a scrumptious meal like that, I feel that I can really seize the day.
I've come to deliver vegetables we harvested in the village to the monastery's dining hall. Because of the season, I couldn't really pick that much, but I wanted to help the church out, even just a little bit. We're busily planting seeds, so when things start to grow, I'll be back.
It's always so peaceful coming back here. But it's hard to relax knowing we have to go out on another expedition again so soon. And assaulting that huge keep. That sounds hard. Oh, really hard. Don't you think it'll be hard? I knew you'd think so. I knew you... Ow! Oh, ow. Can't believe I tried to hug you through the door.
I think you're quite a tactician, disguising ourselves as enemy soldiers to sneak in undetected. A stroke of brilliance. In a frontal attack, our losses would be tremendous. With this strategy, we can really snatch victory from the jaws of deceit. Yes, with you leading our fighters, I've no doubt the Empire will suffer an embarrassing deceit. Get it? Deceit again?
Eating delicious food really takes my worries away. Ooh, I love this stuff. Did you know that?
Thanks. I'm glad I asked you.
Professor, let me sing for you. Do you not like my voice? It would make a Pegasus dance with joy.
I'll keep my voice down. Don't want people thinking I'm vying for attention. But how loud is too loud?
Professor. Yes.
I've come here after getting chased out of the Empire. There's no place for our kind there anymore. But there are still many inside Empire territory who haven't abandoned their faith in the Church of Seros. I pray that one day we'll get the chance to rebuild the church within the Empire.
Oh, Goddess, hear my prayer. Please bless the deceased with peace everlasting, and may his soul rest in tranquility. You know, I used to see him praying quite often when I would come to the cathedral at night. I wonder who it was he prayed for back then.
Oh.
Professor, I heard that a staggering number of people lost their lives in the battle at Gronder. And here we are, preparing for the next battle as if nothing happened the day before. It's almost easier to think about war as theater, with the stage an entire continent. Something like that. If an accident happens on stage, the next day's performance must be unaffected. Everyone just pretends like everything is fine, focusing on their role in the play.
What?
Professor, it sounds like the battle at Gronder Field was pretty gruesome. We don't know for certain whether Claude's alive or dead. Maybe he's all right. I wish I could make sure somehow. But it doesn't seem possible now.
Let's see. Guess what I noticed? I can see further than most other people can see. But I can't figure the point of seeing further than an arrow can fly, since I can't shoot what I see. Yeah, I suppose it could be real useful for finding Lady Rhea, too. Thanks, Professor. I think I get it now. I'm gonna put my eyes to real good use.
Hey, you. I like this idea of yours, dressing as Imperial soldiers so they'll let us in. But don't you wish there was one more twist in the plan? Come on, Professor, think. How could we add another wrinkle, Dress me as Edelgard, but we look nothing alike. On second thought, let's just stick to the plan as originally conceived. That seems safer.
heard that Gilbert, who used to serve in the Knights of Seros, fell at Gronder. Apparently, he was originally a knight of the kingdom, and now he shared Prince Dimitri's fate. Gilbert was an exceptional knight. It's an unspeakable shame.
Did you give the ridiculous order to prepare Imperial armor for every one of our troops?
I've reached out through all of my channels, but there are limits to these things. I'll have to recruit an entire town's worth of people if I ever plan on making enough.
Well... Each step closer to Enbar, I'm reminded of another part of my past. Riches and poverty, glory and failure. That city has it all. And, if I'm honest, sometimes I miss it. That's how the past works, though, isn't it? It's always a different story than what you really lived.
Fort Mercius is the Empire's single most fortified military installation. Utterly impregnable, they say. I wonder, do you happen to know the nickname given to Fort Mercius? Indeed, a very good answer. But of course, you'd know that. Seems Fodlans give everyone and everything a nickname. Why, you were called the Ashen Demon. Myself, I have been called the Father of Crestology, which is a nickname as well as a title, I suppose.
The battle at Gronder Field certainly took an unexpected turn, did it not? Let us press on, so as not to waste the opportunity. Fort Mercius is a keep that was constructed to defend the imperial capital, Enbar. We cannot enter the capital without first capturing that fort. But once we have it, the city should be almost entirely at our mercy. I will make the necessary preparations. Be ready.
Hey! Hey you, listen up. I've got something to report. Lots of things happen down here. Lots of reports need to be reported. And for all reportable things, I'm your guy.
Pardon me.
I hurt my leg in the last battle. Had to take shelter down here. Nowhere else to go. Be careful up there. All sides are bringing their strongest people to this fight. Count Burgleys in the Empire, Lord Holst in the Alliance. I'm sure the Kingdom's got someone too.
Got a wager for you. My friend says there's twice as many women in Abyss as men. You think he's right? Good eye. You win. Here, have a little something.
You know, House Albrecht also took part in the Battle of Gronder. That's where my little bro is, of course. Yeah, he's very different from me. Smart one. But just about worthless in a fight. I really hope he's okay.
It's not that I don't sympathize with Lady Edelgard's goals, mind you, but perhaps not to the point of shedding blood for her ideals. Of course, but I've gone down a different road. Peace in Fodlan and a restored House Nouvelle shall be my guiding star as I blaze my own trail.
So, what a pain. What an absolute pain. Concerned, are you? That's nice. A little too nice. Here's a word of warning. If anyone here asks you for a favor, it's probably just a scam.
Yeah. I used to be a rather important person in the church, but I am in exile for committing a crime. I embezzled some money, but it wasn't out of greed. My hometown was pillaged, you see, and the church wasn't putting in enough to rebuild.
Yikes. People have always fought, I guess. Bandits and nobles clashing over territory, things like that. So before the war, when folks talked about how peaceful everything was, I thought, what continent are you living on? I get it now. A few isolated skirmishes here and there are nothing compared to a full-blown war.
The one truly peaceful place I've known was the village where I grew up.
Why, hello there. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. Come back soon now.
If the Empire rallies its forces and attacks Garrett Mach, I'm not so sure Abyss will be okay.
If we're not careful, it'll end up buried in rubble. Ever the valiant one. But nobody ever knows how a war will turn out. That's part of the deal, you know. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but I want to ensure there's still a refuge for people to escape to.
It didn't work. Odd. My logic was sound, or so I thought.
Ah, Lysithea. I've just happened upon some lovely tea leaves. Would you care to join me for a cup?
Nope. Busy.
While I admire your dedication to research, you simply must take breaks now and again for the sake of your health.
I am perfectly capable of knowing when to stop. I'm no child, I'll have you know.
Come now, take just a brief respite. Look, I've even brought snacks to go with the tea.
Ooh, that actually looks pretty tasty. All right, fine.
Well, what do you think? These are made especially for my house. I've loved them since I was a boy.
Oh, geez, wow. Actually, this is delicious. You have excellent taste, Lawrence.
Have as much as you'd like. For the sake of our friendship, I consider it well worth the investment. I'd like to know more about you, Lysithea. Where did you learn such a command of magic? When you were a child, what kind of...
Come on, can't we just enjoy the snacks? I loathe talking about myself.
Openness is a prerequisite to successful diplomacy. You'll learn that when you take your first real steps into high society.
Can you stop with the kid treatment? I mean, really, is age the only thing you consider when engaging with others?
But there's nothing the matter with being young. There is a role to be played at every stage in life. That is how we learn and grow.
Are you even listening? It's like you can't even help yourself but to continue treating me like a child.
I absolutely recognize your raw ability. You possess quite a rare gift for magic. I hope we can find a way for you to use that gift to help as many people as we can. Surely you can agree to that, at least.
You really are relentless. I'll spell this out for you once more. I don't care.
You're headstrong, just like me. That very quality will ensure a better future for Fodlan.
I, sir, am nothing like you. You're bullheaded and boorish, and utterly fixated on the future. All you care about is what's to come. Sure, it's all well and good to be thinking about such lofty things. However, for me, the future's a very long ways off. Better to focus on the present, on the here and now. Thanks for the tea.
Lysithea?
Why, hello there. If it is your wish. Everything is within your grasp. If it is your wish. Everything is within your... Come back soon now. Picking wildflowers? Seems such a common activity for someone like you.
To me, the most beautiful flower is the one that blossoms by its own strength. Lysithea, please accept this as...
Knock it off! Sorry. It's just that the thorns are a bit sharp, and I'm not a fan of killing nature.
True sympathy, even for the smallest wildflower. I admire your kindness. When you inherit your house, that kindness will be a balm to your subjects. They and the neighboring lords will trust you instinctively.
Politics. Again.
The Alliance has been harmed in the past by lords who thought only of themselves, who saw others as a means to an end. But you understand others' pain. With you around, I am quite hopeful that the Alliance will flourish again.
That's not something you should get your hopes up about. House Ordelia will end with my father.
I'm sorry? I understand you have a distaste for politics, but could you really allow a noble house 3 centuries old to fall to ruin? This goes beyond you and even your house. What would become of Fodlan if all its noble houses withered away in such a manner? The people would be in disarray. The balance of power would crumble. Chaos would rule.
No, it's just... my body, unfortunately, is not built to last. And I have no siblings. When I die, that's the end.
What?
Noble birth has been nothing but a source of pain for me. For me, and for my parents. We got sucked into the rebellion in the Empire, and it led to many responsibilities for us. The things we went through. I can hardly bear to speak of it. All I want now is to give my mother and father the chance to live out their years in peace. I intend to do whatever I can to ease the hardships of our people, while I still have life left in me. Naturally, I worry about what will come to pass after I'm gone. But I'm sure things will work out, so long as there are people like you around working so hard for a better future.
So you have been thinking of the future, even despite all of that. I am so sorry. I had no idea. Lysithea, I have offended you most persistently. Please find it in your heart to forgive.
Don't worry about it. If you're so insistent upon being my friend, I'm sure more tasty snacks and tea will help persuade me. But if speaking of the future holds such importance, better to find someone who actually has one.
I understand. Yes, let's take tea together again soon. Ignatz, hello. What are you up to?
Ah! You frightened me.
Oh, calm yourself. What is it that you're drawing?
I thought I'd jot down some sketches of everyone while they're training. And then later on, I'll try to practice their moves on my own. But I can't really concentrate on sketching if someone's watching me.
Just sketches, Even so, they're lovely. There's such life in them. It's as if they're moving on the page before my very eyes.
You really think so? You know, I always hoped to be an artist.
With skills like that, I'm quite certain you could easily make a living of it. And your demeanor is different when you draw. Bolder somehow. Ah, yes, there's an idea. Perhaps in the future you will join my retinue as my personal painter. Wait, have we not discussed this arrangement already? I had decided to take you into my service as a knight, had I not?
Becoming a knight was my father's idea. Being an artist is out of the question, I'm afraid.
So you've said. Well then, I suppose you shall simply have to become a knight who also paints.
A knight who also paints?
I have seen your talent and can attest to it. Your gifts are too great to wither away in obscurity. A knight with the rare gift of artistic talent would be most welcome in my employ.
I had never thought of that. Still, I don't understand why you'd want me as one of your knights. As a fighter, I'm unremarkable.
There is more to knighthood than combat. Courtly manners, a dignified bearing, and an aesthetic sensibility are also essential. A knight with an eye for art and the talent to create it is sure to improve the image of the nobility.
Lawrence, I'd never have guessed you were prone to such eccentric ideas. Thank you. I'm feeling a little more confident after hearing your kind words.
Oh, no cause for thanks. It is a noble's duty to provide guidance to those in need. What is it, Marianne?
I'm curious why you've been eating your meals near me as of late. I'm not much for conversation. I'm always at a loss for words, and I never know how to respond to questions.
Well, it's true that there are some who prefer a lively dinner table, but I prefer to eat in peace. With you, my meals are a relaxing experience. In fact, you're the most peaceful dining companion I've ever had.
Really?
There is a real grace and fluidity to your every movement. I greatly appreciate refined table manners. Observing you all this time, I believe I've realized what is so striking about you. Your beauty comes from the heart. It is an inner beauty. It is not some flamboyant pageantry, a product of external adornment or grooming. When I first noticed it, I thought that it could use some refinement, a little polish. But I was mistaken. You are perfect in your natural state, just as you are.
You think I'm beautiful? Just the way I am?
Certainly. To add a superficial luster on top of what you already possess would be offensively redundant.
No one's ever said anything like that to me before.
Alas, I am the only one with eyes. But perhaps it is for the best that your beauty not be revealed to all the world. Yes, it is certainly better that only I, Lawrence Hellman Gloucester, can appreciate your true magnificence. And on that note, I bid you farewell.
What a strange person. But being called beautiful just the way I am, that was nice to hear.
Ah, there's yet another option.
Lawrence, what are you doing?
Oh, hello, Hilda. I'm using these pieces to represent soldiers on the battlefield. This will allow me to better visualize concepts of strategy.
Very good. Is it fun?
Oh, it is utterly engrossing. Look, swap out just certain pieces for others, and the board completely changes. Then, even considering the same types of units, employing different individuals calls for a new set of plans.
Oh, I see. Or I kind of see. It's hard for me to grasp really complex things like this.
Nonsense. It's thanks to your many requests that I've been adapting my fighting style of late. Working to accommodate you has convincingly shown me how essential it is to rethink tactics on a continual basis. After all, the risk of getting hurt is greatly reduced if you are prepared for any situation. So now I will be ready for anything.
Lawrence, you're so wonderful, I'm at a loss for words. I'm not just saying that to flatter you either, honestly.
Tell me something, Hilda. Did you make all of these ludicrous requests of me purely so that I might have the opportunity to develop myself? Because if so, I am deeply moved. Thank you for caring so thoughtfully and passionately for my personal growth.
You're welcome.
If you will permit me to return the favor, I do have one request to make of you. Will you hear me out?
I'm not usually one for fielding requests, but I can make an exception in your case, I suppose.
I would be so pleased to have the opportunity to observe you in action, in the heat of battle. Would you be so kind as to oblige me?
Oh, very well. You've convinced me. But if it gets too intense, you'll help me out, right?
Is that Professor Manuela? Her voice is every bit as fine as you might expect from the former leader of the Middle Franc troop. Oh, if it weren't for her drinking and her woefully inadequate manners, she would fit right in with high society. Wait a minute.
As my mind clings to desperate thoughts, here it comes, horsebow moon and summer's end.
That's my... Oh no. No, no, no!
Oh, Lawrence! I heard you shout. Are you okay?
The poem! My poem! Forget it, I said! I asked you for one thing!
And I told you it would be impossible for me to forget.
Certainly, I understand. But setting it to music, and now singing it?
Oh, yes. It makes for a beautiful song, doesn't it? I'm feeling so lonely and blue. My dearest has left. He has gone far away, and I'm here, all alone. And in my sadness, your poem, well, it became a song for me to sing. It brought me a moment of happiness.
I do not know who spurned you, but I assure you my poem has nothing to do with any such feelings. It is getting late. We should both turn in. I will take my leave now.
Oh, I understand. You're leaving me too. Why? Am I too old to matter?
No, I never said any such thing. Why, I am sure there are plenty of men who would prefer a mature woman such as yourself.
Mature, he says. I knew it. You're all the same, you know. No one sees the person behind the voice. They just see me older today than yesterday. They say, "Oh, look what happened to her." Nobody sees my frustration, my resignation to be forever alone. But you do. It's all right there in your poem.
Please, I assure you, my poem was not about that at all. It was actually about the ideal of nobility. The sentiment is that someday I know I will get what I want. There is no resignation in it, as you seem to be suggesting.
Lawrence. I was sure the poem was more about someone lamenting their frailty and the loneliness of time's passing. But that's not it at all, is it? This is the story of someone impatient to get ahead, who is afraid they'll never make it.
The speaker in the poem does lament his shortcomings. The road to reach his ideal is long. It is a trial, a test. If he can just find his way through it, he knows he can move forward. So I think you should try to move forward too. Because with a voice as talented as yours, how could you possibly fail?
Lawrence, someday you should let me sing this song in public. I think people who are battling through their own trials, they might find comfort in this. And I believe I'm the only one who can do your work justice.
Very well. You have my assent. On the condition that you do not attach my name to it. Now, permit me to retire for the night. I require ample rest to maintain an adequate level of polish, you know. I suppose, if my poem must be set to music, then it had best be done by such a talented singer. Your swordplay is captivating, exceedingly graceful, yet mindful to guard the weaknesses that often accompany such elegant flourishes.
Lawrence, are you spying on me? That's not very noble.
It was rude of me to watch so long in silence, I do confess. Yet I could not bring myself to interrupt. I believe that such a deep grasp of swordplay can only mean that you have experienced the privilege of a noble birth.
You just don't let up. I didn't inherit my sword skills, Lawrence. I trained. I earned them.
One's lineage does not affect one's talent or tenacity, to be sure. But a noble is raised in an environment more conducive to the honing of martial skill. Those brought up in the lap of luxury are blessed with a far wider variety of options for their futures. And a noble raised in that fashion is better equipped to keep the peace for the common folk.
Sure. And besides keeping the peace, what are the nobility's other duties?
Matters of state, for a start. A noble has the ability to declare war, for instance. A commoner does not. And a noble who carries the blessing of a crest has even more power. One move from such an individual can exert massive influence. Of course, such influence must only be wielded with discretion. It is a noble's duty to use power wisely.
Whether or not it's their duty, if they don't use their power wisely, the people will revolt.
Indeed. The motivation to revolt can only come from discontent with the nobility. But if the people are well protected and enjoy peaceful and happy lives, there is no such motive. Thus, if such a revolt does occur, the nobility must be held accountable.
The nobility must be held accountable, I never thought I'd find myself agreeing with you. Maybe you're not as bad as I thought. In fact, I'll let you in on a secret. I am from a noble family, House Karen of Fargus. I used to be known as Cassandra Rubens Karen. Perhaps you've heard that name before?
House Karen? It cannot be. Are you the one who was driven from Fargus for some grave crime?
So people say. However, I didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, how do you rate me now? On one hand, I am a noble, but I'm also a fugitive.
I see. Well then. Will you do me the honor of a bout?
So you'd like to suss me out with your sword? Sure, I'll take you on.
Hey, Raphael. Reading a letter?
Well, if it isn't old Ignatz. I got a message here from my sis.
Oh, a letter from Maya. I haven't seen her in so long. I bet she's all grown up.
Nah, she's still a shrimp. It's been a while since I saw her, but she's probably only up to your shoulders.
Wow, I can't believe she's gotten that tall.
I wrote to tell her about how we're friends again. Do you remember this?
Is that the picture I drew for her?
She sent it along with the letter. I guess she held on to it since we were kids. All right, that's enough looking. She said to show it to you and send it right back.
To think she's handling my little doodle with such reverence. That warms my heart. I remember the day I gave Maya that drawing. She looked so happy. Before then, I never knew I could make people happy with art. It was a revelation. I've been drawing and painting ever since, in hopes of becoming an artist one day.
You're much better now, so it must be paying off. I bet you could be a real artist.
No, that's not possible, I'm afraid. I have to consider my parents' wishes.
Who cares what your parents want? It's not like you're a noble or nothing. Your fate is your own.
Huh. You think so?
I know so. And I'm gonna support you with whatever dream you got. Okay, let me see. What's the first step to follow your dreams? Oh, got it. You should paint me.
Paint you?
Yeah, I want my little sis to know how good I'm doing here. So I gotta send her proof. Plus, she'll be doubly impressed if it's a painting you made.
Good point. I can certainly try to capture your likeness. I'll paint you with a warm, cheerful expression on your face to bring Maya comfort.
My face? No way! You gotta get my muscles in there. Mostly my chest and arms.
Are you sure that's what she'd want to see?
Wait! Before you start painting, I gotta get me a little more training in. If my muscles aren't bulging, then what's the point?
I'm not sure about this.